Well, let's continue the brand and communication conversation. And tying in with its global Made of More campaign, the Irish dry stout brand Guinness has found an interesting touch point when they changed the campaign name to Made of Black in order to connect with a new generation of young African consumers. It really worked a treat. And this is how they did it.
My leather black jeans on.
Africa's youth is switched on. They're changing their governments and changing their lives. They are the Renaissance generation. Guinness has long been an iconic brand in Africa, but in the face of this emerging culture, they had lost their relevance with the youth. Our challenge was to become the vanguard of a generation. It was time to introduce this new generation of Africans to all the characteristics and values we have in common. Time to tap into the confidence, restlessness, and imagination bubbling up across Africa. Time to celebrate this generation and become their beer of choice. So we started with 22 influential Africans telling us what they're made of.
I am made of conviction. I am made of black.
Tonight we are staging a takeover.
Then we took over MTV for the first time in the channel's history. For one whole night, we flipped Africa's coolest channel on its head. And then we turned it around and asked Africa to tell us, what are you made of? And they did, in every channel imaginable. They told us how it feels to be the African generation that unshackles itself from its past. They told us about their issues, passions, dreams, challenges, and triumphs. Everything from issues of identity to skin color and bleaching, the great hair debate. They even talked about whether black people could or couldn't swim. They told us what it means to be black and African right now, in this minute, in this nanosecond. Some of it was hard and divisive. Some of it was surprising. Some of it was refreshing. But all of it was driven by energy and a deep passion for freedom and self-expression. They told us black is an attitude, not a color. But most importantly, they told us what they're made of. We shared these ideas on madeofblack.com and brought Black Hour to MTV, showcasing the best of this user-generated content during a 2-hour continent-wide takeover.
Well, that's a clever idea, isn't it? And it's one way of affecting change. The other is through social media. And Like Change is a campaign that is aimed at developing disadvantaged youth from cradle to career. And here on Mags on Media to tell us more about it is Onyi Nwaneri, Head of Development, Marketing and Communications at the NGO Afrika-Tikkun, and the Chief Executive Officer of Popimedia agency, Ryan Silverman, who's done some work in that. Onyi, let's start with you first of all. Let's get the Afrika-Tikkun out the way first of all. What does that mean?
Afrika-Tikkun means transforming Africa. And the whole philosophy around Afrika-Tikkun is that there's no silver bullet for changing South Africa or changing the future of children and youth. You have to look at children and youth from a 360 degrees point of view. Those children need education, they need nutrition, they need healthcare. As they develop into young adults, someone has to bridge them into a job environment as well. So the Afrika-Tikkun model really says, how can we ensure that the children and youth of South Africa have effective development in a structured manner that enables them that at the end of the pipeline, they are able to access the economy, either because they are accessing employment or they're accessing self-employment.
Right, so you had a media need. Before I bring Ryan into the conversation, what was that media need?
The media need was to find a way to engage ordinary South Africans around what the solution is. We often sit and moan about the problem. You know, what's the biggest problem facing South Africa? Some people say education, some people say health, some people say unemployment. But for us, it's not really about what the biggest problem facing South Africa is. It's about how we can be part of the solution.
So you bring in an agency at this point. How did you pick up the challenge?
So we were actually approached by another brand about 2 years ago, and their brief to us was, pick one problem in South Africa, here's 20 million bucks, how can we make a real change? And upon briefing...
Boy, that's a big canvas, isn't it?
That's a very big canvas and a very exciting one. So my strat team went and did some research, and what we found is that you can't solve one problem and really make a change in South Africa. As Onyi said, if you want to solve unemployment, well, you can't do that without education. Likewise with crime, corruption, all the other problems that we face. So we created a concept video. We called this the Like Change campaign. And when we learned about the work that Afrika-Tikkun does, it was a match made in heaven. we believe it's a real sustainable model for making a real change in our country.
So you've used the power of social media to affect change. In what respect?
In order to change the lives of children, obviously Afrika-Tikkun need funding. So there's a target of 35 million rand a year. And that would affect the lives of 5,000 children through the program. And so what we said, we set ourselves a target. Let's target 1 million likes. And each like would essentially unlock 35 rand of budget, which partners have committed prior to launch. So at the moment, we're 24% funded, so that's 8.4 million rand funded. And each like unlocks 35 rands worth of funding. So it's 200 likes to change one life forever.
The challenge, though, Onyi, that you've got in this respect is to sustain the momentum.
Yes.
Because we all know that in the social media space, you know, the next big thing will come along.
Part of what we are looking to sustain the momentum is to try and challenge as many South Africans out there to be part of the campaign, but also we are looking at roadshows to various corporate partners and trying to say to them, would you be part of change? And one of the beauty about what we saw in the video that Ryan showed us was that it looked at development in the way that we liked it. We didn't just look at development from an education point of view. It looked at development from a comprehensive point of view, linking back to an end product. And that's what we went to the corporate South Africa to say.
Ron, very quickly, who's using this? Who's actually donating? The demographic, the profile?
So the beauty about this campaign is we really think it's got the opportunity to galvanize our country. So we're looking at leaders and influencers in all spheres of our country, from corporate South Africa to your sports leaders. We've got a whole host of different celebrities on board, from Gareth Cliff to Loyiso Bala, who's actually created a song which will be launching soon. So in terms of creating the momentum, we believe that we've got enough lined up.
And as you said, a 360-degree approach. Onyi Nwaneri, thank you very much indeed, from Afrika-Tikkun, and Ryan Silverman from Popimedia, thank you indeed. And finally this week, commemorating 25 years since Nelson Mandela's first steps to freedom, the Minister of Tourism, Derek Hanekom, has announced the launch of an app that encourages tourists from all over the world to walk in the footsteps of Madiba for a richer experience of South Africa. We took our cameras to the launch event at the historic Lilies Leaf Farm here in Johannesburg to find out more.
The big idea about this app lies in the fact that it's very interactive. In real time, it will give you information about the various Madiba experiences and places of interest. It will give you information such as the distance from where you are standing now, and it will give you information about this very place. Why is it significant? How did it influence and shape Mandela's life? It is also an app that is going to allow us to reward people for the number of experiences they've visited. So what it does really is, you are going to be encouraging people to visit more of the Madiba experiences, and at the same time giving them something very meaningful linked to Madiba. South Africans owe it to themselves to walk on the footsteps of this icon, but international communities that have associated themselves with South Africa and Madiba in particular would like to also follow his footsteps and learn a little bit more. So it is really experiences for everybody.
And that's our program for this week. You can find more on Facebook and on Twitter, as well as Instagram. Goodbye, and thank you for watching.